Good morning all. Thank you for joining us at the Standards Committee meeting of the 27th of March 2025. May I start please by doing some housekeeping points. May I remind everyone present that the meeting is being live streamed as well as recorded via the internet, and this recording archived for future viewing. If a participant wishes to speak, can they please raise their hand on screen or use the raise hand button, which is in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. When invited to address by the chair, please could all participants ensure that their microphone and camera is on to ensure that they can be seen and heard when actively participating. Please ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. Thank you, Chair. That concludes the housekeeping.
Thank you and good morning, everybody. Part one, number one, apologies for absence. Are there any?
Yes, Chair, apologies have been received from Lorna Tinsley. All other members of the committee are present.
Good, thank you very much. The minutes of the meeting held on the 30th of January 2025. I read those through again last night, having originally approved them. Everybody happy with those? I'll put it another way. Put up your hand if you want to comment, or if you're not, if there's anything you want to add, or you don't think they're a fair account of what happened. No, everybody seems happy with that. Thank you. So number three, to receive declarations of interest and the nature of such interest under the Council's Code of Conduct. Are there any, please? No, I shall take silence again as being that there are no declarations of interest. Number four are the minutes of the meeting of the Appointments Committee. I wasn't present at that. I think, Amy, you're prepared to deal with that matter.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I note that Councillor Birch has raised her hand. Would she wish to come in at this point, or should I present first?
Sorry, I hadn't seen that.
Amy, you
Councillor
go ahead.
Birch...
That's okay. Amy, you go ahead and I'll chime in if necessary.
Thank you very much, both. Before the committee this morning, you have the minutes of the Standards Committee Appointment Committee that met on the 4th of March, earlier this month. The Appointment Committee were asked to consider 2 points of notification that had been received from Mr. Gerwin Watkins and Mr. Ronnie Alexander, who had been appointed to the Standards Committee on the 13th of March 2019 for a 6-year term, and therefore that membership was due to expire on the 12th of March this month. However, both independent members had given notification to Democratic Services that they were prepared to be reappointed for one further consecutive term, not exceeding 4 years, in accordance with the legislation that is set out for you within the minute. Therefore, the Appointments Committee considered the 2 points of notification from both members and were happy to resolve that the reappointment of both members take place from the 13th of March, and therefore both members would be invited to remain on the committee until the 12th of March 2029. I think I'll leave that there for now, Chair, if you don't mind.
Thank you very much. Councillor Birch, did you want to comment?
Yes, I'd like to move those minutes as a true record and accept them.
Good. Anybody object to that? No, so they're a true record. Thank you. Right, we move on to the reports of the monitoring officer, and under 5 applications for dispensation. We have 2 this morning. So perhaps Monitoring Officer Vicky, you could take us through those, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So as you've indicated, Chair, and for the benefit of the committee, there are 2 applications before the committee this morning. There's an application which has been received from the leader, Councillor Burnett, and her request is to speak, vote and remaining meetings where issues are raised at meetings of the council, including items relating to budgetary considerations and sustainable communities for learning in respect of Sir Richard Gwynn High School. The second application relates to an application from Councillor Ruba Sivanyanam to speak and vote when matters concerning community centres are raised at any council meetings, in view of Councillor Sivanyanam being the chair of the Bellevue Pavilion at Penarth. So if I go through the applications, firstly in relation to Councillor Burnett. Councillor Burnett is a member of the Stanwell Ward. The application relates to a close family member, Councillor Burnett's great niece and nephews who previously attended, and there was a previous dispensation in place in respect of their attendance at another Vale of Glamorgan school, Oakfield Primary School. Those family members have now moved to Sir Richard Gwynn High School, so hence the application this morning from Councillor Burnett. The application sets out the grounds on which Councillor Burnett applies for dispensation under paragraphs D, E, F and I. And I would submit that application to the committee this morning for approval. Would you like me to go on to the second application, or do any members have any comments or questions in relation to that application?
No, we'll deal with the first one. Councillor Franks?
Thank you. I've no objection, though I do think sometimes we go to unnecessarily extreme lengths regarding declarations of interest in respect of family members who are, in this instance, is it a great nephew?
Yes,
Yes.
great nephew and niece.
So, are we just? Is it just a bit of a show that we expect people to declare an interest? I do struggle to believe there is an interest at all. Although, if there's an application, I would support it. But we've got so much else to do. This seems to border on trivia.
Well, thank you. I wouldn't quite put it like that. I think it's interesting as to how far the family goes, but I think it's better to be safe than sorry, and I don't think it takes up too much of our time to decide this.
Well, that's my motto as well. Safe and better safe than sorry. But well, I've made my point. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
And I think, Councillor Franks, just to add to that, and you'll know this, that when members consider their personal and prejudicial interests, it's quite subjective as far as a personal interest is concerned, but the objective test, which is applied in relation to prejudicial interests, is something that members, including yourself, take very seriously. And I appreciate that we have to bring them here to this committee, but I think it's important to demonstrate that there's transparency and openness, and that we're demonstrating that members are making these taking these considerations, and they're being reported here. But yeah, that's all I'll say on that matter. So, Councillor Sivanyanam.
Sorry, before we go on to that, Greg, do you want to speak?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just for complete clarity, in the application from Councillor Burnett, it says, I was granted dispensation previously for the same children, which expired in May 2022. Is that correct? Has it expired, or is this a renewal? It's unclear to me there.
My thank you, Mr. Alford. My understanding from the information that I've received is this is a renewal of a previous dispensation, and it's come here because simply because there's been a change of school. So whereas the previous dispensation related to Oakfield Primary School, the children are now at Sir Richard Gwyn. So the application now relates to that school. Because clearly there might be matters that may come before the leader's attention in relation to Sir Richard Gwyn. So I think that's simply it.
Did the previous dispensation expire in 2022 or not? Do we know that for certain? Presumably, Councillor Burnett wrote her application, but it's unclear to me, as it may be to other members, whether it in fact expired, and if it did in 2022, what's prompted the new application? Just for clarity.
May I come in, Vicky? Yes, thank you, Greg. I do understand your confusion in that. I think, for context, all the as you will be aware, after when there is a local government election, any returning members are required to resubmit any dispensations they have had in place for the previous administration. So what is in the application is correct. Technically, in 2022, the leaders the dispensation applications were reset, but the leader was awarded that when she returned after the 22 election. So it did technically expire, but it has been re-established when she was reappointed in 22. It is ongoing. It is currently open, and it's like Vicky said, she's asking now to amend that slightly to expand upon that because one of the children has now progressed to secondary school.
So in essence, it's an amendment to an existing dispensation.
Yes, and I apologise for the confusion of the wording there, but yes.
That's right. There's been no break essentially in the dispensation. Yeah. Okay.
Good. Well, that's cleared that up. Is everybody happy with that application? Again, if you're objecting, could you signal some way? No, so that's granted, and presumably it's granted on the grounds as you set out. You're happy with that, Vicky?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Right, we'll move on to the second one.
So the second application relates to Councillor Ruba Sivanyanam. She's a member of the executive, our cabinet. She's currently chair of the Bellevue Pavilion Centre in Penarth, which is a community centre. And her application relates to a request for a dispensation to speak and vote on community centres when they are raised at council meetings. The dispensation is requested to remain in place for the duration of her membership of the executive body of the Bellevue Pavilion. I'll just say a couple of things about Bellevue Pavilion. It's a centre that's owned by the Vale of Glamorgan Council. I don't know if some members will be aware, but there was a renovation or regeneration of the community centre some time back. And at that point, when it reopened, a committee was established, which is represented by members of the council, including Councillor Sivanyanam, and she was appointed at that time as the chair of the committee. Because of her standing as a cabinet member for community engagement, equalities and regulatory services, her request is, as a local member and the chair, she considers, and this is set out in her application, that it's important for her to be able to advocate on behalf of both the committee and her ward, within which Bellevue sits. She's declared that there's no financial or pecuniary gain in her role as chair of the committee, and she considers that to not be able to speak and vote on matters concerning the pavilion would disadvantage the pavilion and the community. So the application requests dispensation under relevant paragraphs D, F and G to speak and vote.
Thank you. Councillor Summers?
Yeah, Vicky, could you just clarify? In what you've just said there, is her appointment as chair of the Bellevue Committee? Is that as a council appointee?
No, sorry, I should have covered that. No, Councillor Summers, it's not. She wasn't
Thank you.
elected.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Is everybody happy with that under D, F and G? Mr. Watkins?
Just for my information, really, does she not also qualify under H?
It's not yet what I would describe as a voluntary organisation.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
currently the ownership.
Thank
of
you.
council.
Okay, fine. But subject to that, is everybody happy with that application? Yes. So thank you. Right. The next item, item 6, is the monitoring officer's update report independent review by PSOW.
Okay, so there's 3 elements to this report, members. The first element is the Ombudsman's response to a recommendation, a specific recommendation that formed part of the outcome of an independent review of investigations by the Ombudsman's office, and that was a matter that was previously reported to the committee, I believe, on the last occasion, if my memory serves me correctly. And in relation to that element of the report, members might recall that the review findings, which were undertaken by an independent reviewer, Melissa McCullough, considered that the processes adopted by the Ombudsman are generally robust, fair and impartial. And one of the 7 recommendations for improvement which were made included a decision that the Ombudsman Office, on receipt of a complaint in relation to an elected member, whether that member's a town and community council member or a principal council member, that the member accused should be notified of the complaint upon receipt of it to ensure fairness and transparency. I'd like to correct one error in the report. It's referenced at 2.5. That at the recent monitoring officer meeting held on the 7th of March that Michelle Morris, the Ombudsman, was present. In fact, it was the Chief Legal Officer who was present and presented that information to the meeting. So it's just really to bring that to the attention of the committee this morning. I don't have anything else to say on that. I don't know if anybody wishes to comment or has any observations or questions about that.
Are there any, please? No. Thank you very much.
And I, should add that it was a practice that used to be in place until it stopped, and obviously it's now been re-implemented. So the second element of the report relates to the review of the Standards Committee hearing procedures. And those procedures under 2 processes. The first is the local dispute resolution procedure, and the second is in relation to the complaints, investigations rather, that are referred back to the Standards Committee for consideration and hearing. The members of the committee will recall that recently there was a debate at full council in December last year, and a motion was passed that the Standards Committee or the council, and it falls to the Standards Committee to consider it, that they review the protocol of standards of conduct and the local dispute resolution procedure. So in that context, and it being timely insofar as there was a working group established comprising some of the monitoring officers across Wales who were tasked with reviewing the LDRPs of all 22 local authorities. It was determined that members of this committee should have the opportunity now to consider that information and set up a working group, a small working group, to review the local dispute resolution procedure for this authority and to address any identified issues. There is I won't go through it, but there is an appendix document to this item, and it is the minutes of the meeting of the working group of the monitoring officers of Wales, Cross Wales, and essentially it sets out the considerations in relation to what I'm presenting to the members this morning for them to consider. Happy to go through that information if it assists, of course. And then in relation to the procedure for dealing with allegations against councillors, which are referred to the Standards Committee, the procedure our procedure in the Vale has been in place for some time. Certain comments had been made at previous hearings which the committee have undertaken regarding some elements, not all, of the current procedure. And Mr. Watkins has fed back some of his comments in relation to that procedure, and it would be proposed, and it's a matter entirely for the committee, that the working group established considers a review of the procedure for dealing with allegations against councillors. So those are the items. Shall we pause there before going any further, Chair?
Thank you very much for that. I think that at this stage, perhaps if everybody agrees, we ought to consider appointing a small committee. Sorry, can I ask you to go off because you're
Distracting you.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was getting repeat in my earphones. First of all, is it agreed that we should have a small committee to look at this? Anybody got any views? Sorry, Councillor Summers.
Could I just ask, probably Vicky, for clarification? In the Appendix 2 document that you referred to, it appears to suggest that the review was only in regard to the LRP for county councillors and city councillors. Of course, there is also a local LRP for community councillors, which has been circulated and supported by this committee. Are we looking at both?
The working group that was established considered the LDRPs for principal councils. I mean, obviously, some town and community councils will have adopted a local dispute resolution procedure, and I meet with the clerks of the town and community councils on a 6-monthly basis, and it would be something that I would refer to and communicate to the town and community councils to support and give them guidance. But this would be only reviewing our procedures here in the Vale.
Thank you. Councillor Birch.
Thank you. Happy to support the idea.
Good. Thank you very much. How many? I should be on it, and then who? I think we ought to have possibly 3 or 4 would be my ideas. We should have 1 or more of the councillors and 1 or more of the independent members. So I think the easiest way is to ask, are there any volunteers who'd be interested in going on this small committee? Councillor Franks.
Chair, in view of the fact that Rhianna's proposed that this committee be set up, I'm very pleased to propose her, and I have full confidence in her abilities.
That's not volunteering, is it? But there we are, nominated. Okay. Anybody
If
else?
no one else is prepared to do it, I'm happy to take it on.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Councillor Summers.
I'm happy to work on that if the committee wishes.
Good. It's fine. Gerwin.
Yes, I'm quite happy to go on it. I have to say that I believe in the maxim, if it ain't bust, don't fix it. So unless there are real problems with it, I'm going to suggest things be left as they are.
Okay. I'm not awfully keen to do it, but I will. Greg, would you be interested as a lawyer to go on this?
Chair, at the moment, my professional obligations are such that my diary is full for the next 3 months, and I don't want to put myself forward for a task that I'm unlikely to complete.
Okay. Well, I will. If you're happy, I will sit on it as well. So we've then got 4. Vicky, do you think that's right?
Yep, yeah, that's absolutely fine. And as I say, it's a matter for the committee. What I'd also suggest in relation to agreeing to form the working group, that we also support the members in drafting a terms of reference for the committee.
Right. Okay. Good. Thank you for that. I think there's a third part to your report, which will I think be very short.
Yes, yeah, it's just to make members aware that there was a Welsh Local Government Association event in Cardiff on the 5th of March, which the chair and I both attended. And it was badged as a local government democracy event. The key element, I suppose, for this committee was the discussion in relation to civility in public life. And the committee will recall that we've previously brought reports in respect of that work, which is a joint collaboration between the Local Government Association, Welsh Local Government Association and equivalents in Northern Ireland and Scotland, which arose from the Joe Cox Foundation and the work that they've undertaken. There will be several takeaways. Welsh Government were obviously present, as were members of the WLGA. We had some breakout sessions where we discussed improvements that potentially could be made to standards and ethics regime, and in particular sanctions. So nothing substantive to report to you this morning, but just to make you aware that that's going on in the background. And as soon as we see some information coming out of the WLGA, I'll bring that information back to you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments on Vicky's presentation? No, thank you very much, Vicky. We move on to item 7, which is correspondence with the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales. Again, Vicky.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this is the standard report that we bring to the committee, and I'd suggest that because of the nature of the item that we move into part 2 to consider that information.
Thank you. Any items which the chair has decided are urgent? Nothing has been referred to me as yet. There aren't any, are there? No? Right. So the next item is to move to part 2. But before we do so, I think it would be remiss of me not to mention that this would or should be the last meeting that Karen Bowen is present. But actually she's not present because she's cruising somewhere on holiday. But the point is that by the time of the next meeting, she will have retired. I'm not sure how long she has been in her post here at the Vale of Glamorgan. Do either of you ladies know? 20 plus years in the Vale. And remind me exactly what her position is. Right, thank you. And so she's...
Sorry
Sorry,
to interrupt.
Janet.
2003 she joined the company.
Excellent. She's been an enormous help to me as firstly as a member and secondly as a chairman. She's always very enthusiastic. She retires, I believe, in April, the 30th of April. But I'm pleased to say that her position has been taken by Amy here, who has been helping me over the last, over quite a while. And I'm sure she will carry on the good work that Karen has done for such a long time. So if you're all happy, I think we will pass on the thanks of this committee and wish her a long and happy retirement. Councillor Franks.
Thank you. Can I support your comments? I've known Karen for many a year, and I think she's kept me out of trouble on a couple of occasions. I'm delighted that Amy has got the role, because she's also kept me out of some difficulties. But I was very sad when I heard that Karen was leaving, and I'm delighted though to hear that she's on a cruise now. So I join in the comments wishing her a long and happy retirement. Thank you.
Right, thank you. And on that note, do we agree that we move into part 2? I'll take that as yes, so there'll be a short break now.